All right, good job. Pat yourself on the back. Seriously, you've turned the heel and that's fabulous. So now what we need to do is pick up the stitches along this left edge. It's left as you're looking at the right side of the work as opposed to the inside or the wrong side. So we're going to pick up the stitches along this edge, and then we're going to continue knitting across our top of the foot or the instep stitches, and then we're going to go back along this side and back across the heel so we can continue going round and round. Okay, I've gone ahead and changed back to my light gray because that's what I want to do to continue knitting on the foot part. If you're not changing colors, then you just carry on. Okay, you can use an extra needle if you want to do this part. I just go ahead and carry on using the needle I'm knitting with. But remember how I told you that you're going to have these nice little chain stitches on the chain edge stitches here that you can see? Well, now is when that's important because it looks like a single crochet. See the little V right there? What we want to do is take our knitting needle underneath the V, okay? So I'm going to try to get this close enough for you to see. The first little V here that I'm going to try to go under is the one right at the tip of my finger. So I see that V, and I'm going to put the tip of my needle right underneath that, both sides, and just go in there and wrap counterclockwise like normal and pull that through, being careful not to split a stitch like I almost just did. Okay. Now you can see the next one is here. Okay, I'm going just underneath the V, right? And I'm going to wrap that and pull it through. Okay, so now I'm going to get really close. Hopefully you can see. Pardon my farm fingernails there. Here's the next V right here, going underneath, and I'm just going to pull my work toward me a little bit to get that in. Wrap around counterclockwise and pull that through. Okay, so we've picked up 3 stitches. You're just going to continue along this edge, going along and picking up those 13 or 14 or, however many you had, depending on how long or how tall your heel flap is. Okay, so we're just going to go along and pick those up. And this is just called picking up the stitches. This is a fabulous thing to know. Sometimes you'll want to knit a border on something and you'll need to pick up stitches. Or maybe you'll get down to the bottom of a shawl and you'll go across your bottom edge and knit a nifty cable border or something along the bottom. I've done that. That was fabulous. So this is a good way to literally just change direction of your knitting. And you can see how that's just going to look. And we're going to go along the other way. Okay, so let me finish picking up these last few here. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do at the end. Now, sometimes with sock knitting, well, let me concentrate here for a second. Make sure I get in the right spot. All right. Sometimes with sock knitting, when you join the back of the heel to the top of the instep, sometimes you'll see in people's knitting there's a tiny little hole that occurs right here. One of my biggest pet peeves. I do not like little tiny holes that occur in random places. I mean, yes, you can darn them after the fact and you can cinch them up and you can literally sew them shut. But I would rather just prevent that from the start. So you can see that if I just carry on right here, I might have a little hole. So what I'm going to do to try to prevent that, before I even get this far, I'm going to pull this bar right here. I'm going to take this up and I'm going to kind of turn it. And what I'm going to do is basically pretend that that's a knit stitch and I'm going to knit into the back of that loop. And I'm going to create a little increase right here. Now, if this is tight, I'm going to go ahead and get my other needle here to help myself. I'm going to go ahead and just knit into that. And I'm going to create an extra stitch right there so as to mitigate the potential of a hole there. Okay? All right, so I've gone that far. Now what I want to do is I'm magic looping, so I need to pull the cable portion of my needle through and get my other yarn here ready to knit across the top of the foot or the instep. Okay. And now for me, that's just knitting straight across. If you were doing a pattern, you'd want to just, be mindful to continue now in the pattern, your established pattern, whether that might be ribbing or some kind of another, nifty pattern for your sock. The possibilities are endless. So that's one reason I really like stitch dictionaries. I have a couple of stitch dictionaries, which just give me, lots of choices for stitches that repeat in multiples that, whatever multiple you're using. If I wanted a 4-stitch repeat or 6, 8, 12, whatever, I need to pull some more yarn out there, whatever I need. So, and then you can just, be the master of your own sock knitting and choose your own pattern. So, all right, I have rambled along at you long enough that now I'm back to this other side. Okay, similarly, we want to prevent any kind of hole on this side. This is just where I tied the yarn. So for now, I'm just going to shove that down inside my sock. I'm going to go ahead and pull this through so I have some slack and leeway to work with. Okay, so I'm going to pull this through and around so that I have this tip to carry on. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to grab a hold. Now this is where I tied on, so I'm not quite, I could use that and that would be fine. In fact, I might. But I'm going to go in and turn this a little bit and make it look like a knit stitch. And actually, I might pinch that. I might give that another, I'll go in with this and I think I'm going to give that another little twist. Just so that it closes up. Again, you just want to close up any potential gappage. I'm going to go ahead and knit into that. There we go. Now, taking my left needle, again, I've got some kind of funky lint thing. All right. Now, I'm going to go in under the V again. I'll find the V, go in there, and I'm simply going to pick that up. Okay. Now, this one is easy. Going this way is usually a little easier. I can see that gap right there. I can see, wait for my camera to focus. I can see the V that is next right here. See that? So you're just going in underneath it as if it were, it's just an edge that you're picking up. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, a lot of people get super hung up of, well, am I picking up the same number of stitches on the left side as I did the right side? Because you're thinking, well, I added one here to close the gap. What if I ended up having to, I don't know, do more than one gap closer, or somehow things didn't work out and you should, in theory, be picking up the same number of stitches on both sides. Sorry, my hands were wayward off the screen there while I was chatting. You should, in theory, have this picking up the same number of stitches on each side. As with anything, sometimes things go wayward. If you end up picking up one more stitch on one side than another, it is not a crisis. I will show you what to do about that. We are the boss of our knitting. Okay, I'm going to get up here to the last V, right? So I'm picking that up, going around. Okay, we are done picking up stitches. That's beautiful. All right, now I'm going to push this back down here so I can have my other working needle. Now, kind of the new beginning of the round is, in my opinion, the beginning of the round now is at the center of the back of your heel. However, if you want to carry on with this being the beginning of your round, that's fine. That just means that the beginning of your round now is going to be here instead of in the center of the back. Put a marker there if you want to add a little stitch marker in the center of your heel stitches in the back. That's totally fine. The other thing I will add is when you're doing magic loops, see now I have this big cable loop. It's really huge on this side. I want to still keep my stitches separate from the back of the sock to the instep. So what I need to do actually is go ahead and pull through my loop or my cable right here, so that I still am maintaining my heel, my two halves of my sock work. Okay, there we go. You should still have the original count on the front right here that you started with. So for me, that would be that 26. You will have more than 26 or more than half on your back, or the, the back of your sock, because you had to make the sock a lot larger to go over your instep and your arch in order to be a sock and fit your foot. So now what we're going to do, I'm just going to knit across the back of the heel. And now what we're going to do is show you how to decrease the number of stitches back down to your original cast on number. Okay? And that way you'll be creating that nice gusset that allows your sock to slip all the way on over the thickest part of your heel and the arch of your top of your foot. It allows you to get your sock on and then fit properly and not be baggy over the top of your foot and down to your toe. So we're just going to carry on knitting. This is our first round. As you're cruising along here, when you get to the last 3 stitches of this left side, okay, we're just going to knit 2 together. That's it. Knit 2 stitches together and then just knit the last one. Okay, that's it. Knit 2 together, knit 1. Okay, now we're going to knit across the instep, or the top of the foot. And we're not doing anything with the top of the foot stitches. We're just going to knit across them. We're doing nothing with those because that is already the correct amount. It's already half of our original cast on. So we're going to leave that alone. I'm just going to cruise right across them. So our goal here is just to do a series of paired decreases. When I say paired, I just mean on the right side and on the left side of the gusset. All right, we've knitted across the top of the foot, or the instep stitches, and now I'm ready to go back up the left side. Now, so on the other side we did knit 2 together, knit 1 when we got to the end of the needle. This is the first part of the gusset on this side, so we're going to knit 1 just normally. Then we're going to do a left leaning decrease because we want our decrease to lean to the left or toward the toe of the sock. So again, we're just going to slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, and go back in with your left needle and knit these 2 together. Okay, slip, slip, knit. All right, and that creates again a left leaning decrease that will lean or angle at a 45-degree angle roughly toward the toe of the sock. Just knit your way all the way around. When you get to the other side, you're going to do the knit 2 together decrease so that decrease will lean to the right, also to the top toe of the sock. So that's how you can remember which one you're doing, the right leaning or the left leaning. Just think to yourself, it needs to lean toward the toe of the sock, whichever that direction is, whichever side you're on. Okay. Now, when we get to the other side here, bear with me while I knit my way back across. We are not going to do a decrease every single round, because if we did that, it would be way too severe. It would narrow down too quickly and you wouldn't be able to get your foot in it. So we're not doing it every single round. We're doing it every other round. And if you forget where you are, and if you're not keeping track, which I usually don't, if you're not keeping track by a row counter or tally marks or whatever, that's fine. You can see where you've been before. So when I get down to the last 3, I can tell that I've knitted those 2 together. See, I can tell I've knitted these 2 stitches together. So I'm just going to knit on past. So you do a decrease round and then you do an even round where you just knit it plain. Okay. So you're going to alternate until you get all the way back down to your original cast on number of stitches with 2 halves. So in my case, I have 26 stitches across the instep. I'm going to knit, knit, knit all the way around, alternating a decrease round and a plain round until I get all this decreased back down to 26 stitches. So you're going to do whatever that is for you. All right, we're moving right along here. Excellent. When I get down to the end of this needle here, I'll show you the leaning, how the leaning looks once you've, done a few rounds and gotten things established. Okay, so I forgot where I was. Imagine that. But I can just lift this off and I can see clearly that I knitted 2 together last time. So I am on an even round, not a decrease round. Okay, so what I want to do here is just kind of straighten this out. Pardon all the funkiness in front of the camera. Okay, let me straighten all this up and arrange myself, and I'll show you. Okay, so here's the leg of the sock, obviously. And this is a right leaning decrease that this is the beginning of my round in the back. So all of these you can see are leaning to the right. Or if we hold the sock up as if it were on your foot, they're all pointing down to the toe. So you can see how that's going to look. And so that kind of makes a line. That's, the gusset of your sock. The other side leans to the left, down toward the front of the toe. Isn't that cool? So, I mean, I'm just easily amused by that. I think it's fabulous that you can shape things to fit yourself. And that's awesome. So we're just going to continue doing this until we have the same number of stitches that we cast on. Pardon my fiddliness here. I had a little bit of tangle up. So we're just going to continue doing that. Knitting a decreased row, knitting an even row, carry on until you're back to your initial cast on. And then all you're going to do is knit, 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 knit. Just continue on knitting just like you did the leg of your sock. Continue knitting to the desired length of the sock. Now, if you look at the sock calculator that I posted when we first began this knit along, the sock calculator, the link for which is in the show notes at the bottom of this video on YouTube. It's also on the website and in the Facebook group. That should give you an indication of your overall total length of your foot. Now, if you don't want to use that or don't have that, I usually just keep knitting and knitting and knitting. I have very large feet. Women's size 12. No, I'm not kidding. I just keep going until I reach about the ball of your foot, or, your big toe knuckle. Is that what that's called? The big toe knuckle? I don't know. Anyway, the ball of your foot, or 1.5 inches roughly until the end of your longest toe, which in my case is the second toe. Maybe not for you. See, now I'm rambling on, not paying attention. This was an even round, and now so I need to do my decrease here. Slip, slip, knit. Done. Good. Okay. So keep going until you reach the desired foot length. All right. So that ought to get you through until I come back from my weekend away. That ought to get you through until the next video, which will be how to decrease and shape for the toe. All right, knit on, my friends. You're doing great.